Welcome back. We're getting right into this. We're making pound cake. Let's turn up the heat. Before we get started, let's preheat this oven to 350 so it's hot and ready. Pizza, pizza. Sorry, wrong video. Preheat it to 350. Now, while that's going, bring in a bowl and a scale. Yes, you need a scale for at least a couple of these ingredients, specifically the flour. But if you don't want a perfect pound cake, I will mention the cup amounts. Now, starting with the flour, weigh out 180 grams. That's right around 1.5 cups. I would prefer this flour to be weighed out because I want the exact amount. The perfect amount of flour is going to lead to a nicely structured, moist pound cake. Too much flour and it's just going to be too dry. Continuing on, for that balance of flavor, we're going to be adding in 1 teaspoon of salt. And then on top of that, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. This is going to give this pound cake just a nice little lift. Now you just got to get on in there with your whisk, give it some whiskey business, incorporate that baking powder and that salt into that flour. Move this bowl to the side and we'll end up bringing that back in once we get the wet ingredients situated. Right now we need to prepare the loaf pan. So bring in that loaf pan, and we don't want any sticky business, so bring in some butter and start rubbing. The original pound cake got its name because of 4 ingredients. The recipe was made when most people couldn't read, so everyone just had to remember things. It was a pound of each ingredient, and it was just sugar, eggs, flour, and butter. Now, thank God we have this new recipe, because I'd imagine that's probably just like a dense, massive mess. If you want to go make that, by all means, go ahead, but I'm gonna stay right here because this one's gonna be better. And once that butter is all in every single crack, that bottom and all the sides, I'm just going to toss in a piece of parchment onto the base of that pan, just as kind of like a safety net or almost like an insurance policy to really ensure nothing sticks. It's alright if those sides kind of get sticky, you can just take a knife and kind of unstick them, but that base, if that's stuck, you're kind of out of luck. Now to treat those sides, toss in just a little bit of flour, dust each side just to coat that butter, and now that pan is ready for your cake batter. And nothing should stick to that. Move that prepared pan to the side and bring in the larger bowl, large enough to mix your dry and your wet. The first ingredient we need to weigh out is the butter. Now I'm just going to use 2 sticks, that's 1 cup, and that's also 226 grams. Make sure this butter is room temperature, kind of soft to the touch. If it's cold, you can microwave it 5 to 10 seconds at a time. You don't want any portion of this melted, and you're going to find out why very soon. First, you need to add 200 grams or 1 cup of sugar. Now bring in an electric mixer, because you're not going to be able to do this by hand. Turn that mixer onto a medium speed and begin to cream this butter and that sugar. While it's creaming, be aware of the color, because the color is going to go from kind of like that yellowy butter color to a nice kind of like cream white color. That's the first indication that your butter is creamed enough. And the second is the texture. It should be nice, airy, fluffy. And once you get it to that point, we're going in with the eggs. I've previously cracked 4 eggs into a bowl just to make sure there's no shell pieces getting into this pound cake. And now while you're mixing, go ahead, add each egg individually, 1 by 1. Once one drops in, mix until it's incorporated. Continue dropping them in until they're all gone. Every once in a while, you're gonna need to scrape this bowl down just to make sure everything's getting mixed together. This mixture isn't going to look too pleasant. It's going to look kind of broken just due to the sheer amount of egg, butter, and liquid going into this batter. Into this mixture, add 1/2 cup of sour cream for that tangy punch. This is also being added because sour cream has a light acidity, and that acidity is going to tenderize the gluten structure, leading to a more tender, softer crumb. Last but certainly not least, one of the most important ingredients, vanilla. We're going in with 2 tablespoons. This is going to drive that flavor, and without it, this cake wouldn't be good. Turn that mixer back on and mix them until they're incorporated. Now it's time to bring in that dry mixture and drop all that dry right into the wet bowl. Now you have to be very careful not to mix this too much, because if you overmix this flour, you're going to develop that gluten, and we're making a cake, not bread. Just to get this started, turn your mixer on low, and for about 5 to 10 seconds, mix until that flour kind of gets dropped down to the bottom. Remove the mixer and you're done with that. Now we're going in by hand. All you got to do is just fold this flour in, mix until you really pretty much can't see it any longer. Scrape those sides, scrape the bottom, make sure it's all mixed up. Now that prepared pan can come back in because we're adding the batter directly into the pan. Pour it right in, making sure not to leave any batter behind. Make sure you scrape down that bowl. Now you can lightly smooth the top of this. Give it a little jiggle, maybe a couple taps just to get rid of some of those air bubbles. Now you can toss it into your oven for around 40 to 50 minutes. Check your cake at 40 minutes, do a little toothpick test. If the toothpick comes out wet, throw it back in that oven until it's done, and you'll know it's done once that toothpick comes out clean. Once it is ready, looking just like this, beautiful as ever, Let this cool in this pan, and once it's slightly cooled, you're able to touch it. You can drop that cake right out of the pan. Now, all you need to do is slice and serve. And I don't mind serving it right into my mouth. Here we go. Take a bite. Oh yeah. Pound cake is special. It's not overly dense, but it's not light like an angel food cake. It's right in that happy middle. It's just a perfect bite every time you bite into it. You could add butter. I don't think you need to. There's definitely enough in there. Once it cools, you could toast it, put some cream cheese. You could serve it with fruit. Any way you want it, just go make it. If you like this video, give it a big fat thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button. And until next time, peace.